President Obama tells a newspaper off the record that he's really a moderate, just posing as a liberal until after the election. Also, another Republican Senate candidate makes news talking about abortion and rape. Welcome to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Jason Riley, and my first guest is Assistant Editorial Page Editor James Freeman to talk about an interview that the President gave the Des Moines Register earlier this week. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Jason.
So, what struck you about the President's comments in this off-the-record exchange?
A lot of things striking, and as you said, it was off the record. Then the paper complained publicly in a blog post, so the White House said, "Okay, put it on the record." And then I suppose this, if the President is speaking the truth here, this should be a relief to all these limited government fans who are thinking they'll jump off a cliff if the President is reelected, because what he said is basically he's going to move right, he's going to move to the center and cut deals with Republicans.
Particularly on, for example, the corporate tax rate, which was an amazing revelation here, correct?
It is amazing. He says, I want a corporate tax reform where we cut the rates and we broaden the base, we get rid of deductions, so we have a simplified system collecting the same amount of revenue. This is something that, for example, the Republican chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Dave Camp, has been talking about for years. This is something that he could cut a deal on with in 5 minutes with Republicans if he wanted to.
And has not. What strikes me about these claims that the President's making, James, is that if he was the kind of guy who was going to pivot like Bill Clinton did in 1994, he would have done so after those 2010 midterm elections. What incentive would he have to do after he wins a second term and isn't running again?
Yeah, it's very hard to believe that the demands of re-election make him force him to be an inflexible partisan, and what he'd really like to do is get along. I mean, obviously, he would be coasting to re-election right now if he had done a big tax deal with the Republicans. The other thing he said, he wanted a big effort to get rid of costly regulations. If you go to any Obama campaign speech, what he does is he attacks the mythical deregulation of the Bush years, then says Romney's going to do the same thing. A section of every speech is an attack on the notion of deregulation.
And he creates the Consumer Financial Protection Board. He empowers the EPA to do all kinds of things. The idea that he's looking for lessening the regulatory burden does not square with his record.
What has he been doing for 4 years if what he really wants is to pare back government in these areas?
One other thing that struck me about the comments, James, is that he would feel the need to go off the record to talk about being this sort of moderate, or this moderate trying to get out.
Right.
Because if you contrast that with the way Romney is running down the stretch, it's interesting. Romney just put out an ad earlier this week stressing his bipartisanship, how he was able to work as governor with the Democratic legislature in Massachusetts. So here you have the Obama wanting to stress his essentially partisanship down the stretch, and Romney wanting to stretch his bipartisanship.
It's bizarre. We heard recently from Steve Law of American Crossroads, big independent Republican group, saying a big problem that the President has with independent voters is that he couldn't get a budget deal during that debt limit fight last year. He couldn't resolve these problems, these big issues, in a bipartisan way. So yeah, the idea that he's doing this for political reasons, it seems beyond belief, but maybe he thinks that the way you win elections is to just get every one of your base people to show up, and who cares what independents think.
Okay, we'll leave it there, James. Thank you.